Welcome to the 12 Days of Edition Wars. In this year's series, we will be taking a deep dive into the iconic monsters of D&D. On this, the 11th day of Edition Wars, my DM gave to me 11 pipers piping. Except they aren't pipes, they're Stirge proboscises.
Yeah, 11 Stirges is gross.
11 Stirges feeding.
Not scary.
Right, yes. Yes, 11 Stirges feeding. And yeah, that's... Yeah. Well, I am your host, Sam Dillon. I am here with my wonderful co-host, Brandis. How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm a little grossed out right now.
Keep the bile down. Keep the bile down.
Keep the blood inside.
Keep the blood on the inside. Yes, that's right. So today we are talking about Stirges. And we have, it's a little bit an interesting thing that happens here. But I'm sure that none of you will be surprised when I tell you that the first place that the Stirge shows up is in the Greyhawk supplement in original D&D. I know, shock and awe, shock and awe. So, the Stirge, we learn, has one bite, and it does 1 to 3 points of damage, plus it drains blood. That's the first thing we learn. And then on an entirely separate table, we learn that when you meet Stirges, the number appearing is 3 to 30. So 3d10.
So many.
They have an armor class of 7. They have really fast movement. This movement is like super duper fast. What did we see last? What did we see last? Oh, you know what? I think Lucrata also have this very fast movement.
Yep.
They only have 1 hit die, but we're going to see where that is modified in a little bit.
30 of the bastards. Oh my god.
Yes, right. 55% chance to be in their lair, and they have a treasure type of D. Now, here's what the description says. Description says, large bird-like monsters with long, dangling proboscises. The Stirges might call to mind evil-looking feathered anteaters. Stirges, now, so I want you to keep in mind, anteaters are actually quite large animals. They're not extremely small, okay? So Just keep that in your mind. Stirges are attracted to warm-blooded creatures, and when a hit is scored by one, it indicates it has attached itself to its prey in order to suck its blood. In other words, if it hits with its attack, it attaches. There's not any separate mechanic to make them attach. If it hits, they attach. Okay? Thereafter, it will drain the blood at the rate of 1 to 4 points per melee round until the prey is a bloodless corpse. So the attack to attach does 1 to 3 damage. Okay, and once it's attached, it just drains blood without an attack roll, automatically 1d4 points per round. The Stirge growing bloated in the process and moving out of the area to digest its repast. Note, Stirges are considered as attacking as 4th level fighters for the purposes of determination of attachment, although they have but 1 hit die. So that's why I said we'll revisit that, because yes, they have 1 hit die, and I think it goes up to 1+1 in 1e. But they actually attack like a 4th level fighter. So they attack at a much higher sort of class, right? At a much higher ability, maybe I should say, than a 1 hit die creature. Okay?
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, 3 to 30 of these things, okay? 3 to 30 of them.
Nope.
That is a lot, right? And notice, though, there's nothing that says where they attach, right? It just says attaches itself to its prey. There's nothing that says only one Stirge can be attached to an individual at a time, right? And there's nothing to tell us how to make it unattach, right? How to break the attachment. There's nothing.
Yeah, presumably they still can take damage in a normal way.
Presumably they take damage in a normal way. And of course, if you kill it, of course it detaches, right? But there's nothing in here about trying to detach it otherwise, is my point, right?
Yeah.
So that's Greyhawk supplement. So that's OD&D, right? If we move to the basic rules, that is Holmes Basic, okay? Remember, this is the 1 to 3. I say this every episode, so hopefully Nobody has forgotten at this point. However, if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, I will tell you, Holmes Basic is the basic D&D set written by J. Eric Holmes, which was meant to be the sort of bridge between OD&D and AD&D, that is first edition AD&D. And so it only has information up from levels 1 through 3, and then it tells you literally go by AD&D and play AD&D. So it says this, Stirge, that movement's the same. It's expressed differently here, 180 feet. It was 18 inches on the last one, but that's the same. 1 hit die, armor class of 7, all that's the same. The treasure type's a little bit different. I don't actually know if that's a different type or just a different designator. Sure. Neutral alignment, 1 attack, 1 to 3 points of damage. All that's the same. And then it says, large bird-like creatures with long proboscises, rather like feathered anteaters. Okay, so basically the same. A hit scored by a Stirge indicates it has attached itself to its prey in order to suck its blood. Basically the same. Then it drains 1 to 4 hit points per melee round after that. Basically the same. The Stirge will continue to bloat itself with blood until killed, or until its prey is a bloodless corpse. Attacks at a +2 on all die rolls. So it sort of worked the way that it talks about attacking as a 4th level fighter. That's what that +2 is. Okay. So rather than saying all that thing about a 4th level fighter, now it just says, look, it gets 1 attack. It's still the 1 hit die creature, but it gets a +2 on its attack rolls. So that's the same. And then it tells us
storage by any measure.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Cause you don't have to go look up something else. Right. It says the Stirge will continue to bloat itself with blood until killed. In other words, you can't just take it off, right? It's not going to fly away willingly once it's attached. It is going to either kill you and make you a bloodless corpse, or it's going to be killed, or it's going to, or there's nothing in between, right? There's nothing in between that, or you're going to kill it, right?
So it's interesting to me that they are sticking with like an anteater instead of the blood-draining proboscis having thing that everyone's used to that also flies.
Right. Right. That's part of what I was going to point out was no mention of a mosquito, right? No mention of a mosquito at all in either of these. This is still very early days, right? So let's move forward to Moldvay.
I ever knew that mosquitoes weren't invented until about 1976.
Well, I mean, they were a new thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, so I guess they're not found very much in the American Midwest by comparison, apparently. I think that's probably not true. But,
sure, right. Yes. So here is Moldvay's basic BX, right? The Stirge, armor class 7, that's the same. Number appearing 1 to 10 now. Or 3 to 36. I think the 3 to 36 is in the layer, right? Okay, so now it's down to 1 to 10. Notice there was no number appearing in Holmes. Okay.
Sure.
Hit die 1, that's the same. Flight is the same. Movement otherwise is a lot slower. 1 attack, 1 to 3 damage. All that's the same. Morale of 9, that's new. Saving as a 2nd level fighter, that's new. But that was information that wasn't needed in Holmes because there's no morale in Holmes. Right. So here's what it says. A Stirge is a bird-like creature with a long nose, looking rather like a very small feathered anteater. So now it says, yeah, still an anteater, but now it's very small compared to the regular size of an anteater, which is a relatively large creature. Right.
Imagine,
right.
You got about half dozen anteaters hanging off you.
Yeah, right.
My mental image is in a weird place.
Right. Yes. Those of you that are listening, but you have a computer or a phone handy, just Google anteater and try to see how big those things are. Anyway, it says, when a Stirge attacks a creature, it tries to thrust its beak. Now it calls it a beak, right? Not a proboscis. It says it tries to thrust its beak into a victim's body to suck out blood for 1 to 3 points of damage. A successful hit means that it has attached itself to the victim. If attached, it will automatically suck blood for 1 to 3 points of damage per round. So that's 1 less than before. It used to be 1 to 4. Okay? Until either it or its victim is dead. Then it will leave. A flying Stirge gains a bonus of +2 on its first to hit roll, that's its attack roll, against any one opponent due to its speed. Stirges have a hardy constitution and save as a fighter of 2nd level. So, still, no way to take it off other than kill it, right? Yep. Also, no restriction on attacking it while it's attached.
Mhm.
But in this case, it does not refer to it as a proboscis. It just says, well, it's a weird, kind of small anteater shaped creature with a bird like some kind of feathers. Even though it's anteater shaped, it has feathers instead of fur, and it has a bill now, a beak, right? That it's going to jam into you and suck out blood. So, okay, the stats are the same. The description's a tiny bit different, right? It still has a lot of references to bird-like and anteater. No reference to mosquito. Okay, so that's Moldvay BX, right? Moldvay Cook BX. So here is Beckme. Beckme, remember, is the Frank Mincer red box set of materials, right? Same armor class, same hit dice, same move, same number of attacks, same damage. It has the same number appearing as what BX had, the same morale, the same saves, the same treasure type, the same alignment, and it gives an XP value now. And it says a Stirge is a bird like creature with a long nose. It attacks by thrusting its beak into the victim's body and feeds on blood. Okay, so same, slightly different wording there, but basically the same. It maintains or retains the 1 to 3 points of damage on the first hit, and then sucking the blood for 1 to 3 points of damage per round until dead, and that it gets a +2 bonus hit on the first 2 hit roll as long as it was flying, right? Because it's due to its speedy diving attack, right? So all basically the same, right? So there's been a tiny changes, but all basically the same. If we take a gander at the Rule Cyclopedia, which is the compiled Beckme information all in one book, which was actually done sort of at the tail end of 1E and into 2E, what we see is the same exact information, right? Same exact stats, same information. I'm not going to read it, except that it now gives you a terrain, cavern, ruins, and woods.
They finally got
Okay?
rid of the anteater terminology.
And right, well, and there's no
And it has
anteater
a nose
in
rather than a beak or a proboscis.
right, and that's the same as in the actual
Yeah,
Beckme
yeah,
basic
yeah.
book, though. So
Right.
that's not new in the cyclopedia; it's new in Beckme.
Sure, sure, sure,
So
sure.
yeah, yeah. So slight changes, but still never a mention of a mosquito. And you lose the proboscis in Beckme. You lose the anteater reference in Beckme. You still get bird-like, and
Yeah.
it's been a bloodsucker the entire time, right?
So, yes, so that set of descriptions that's survived already now several years in
Mm-hmm.
D&D,
Mm-hmm.
I've got to wonder if it is etymologically related and inspired by specifically strigoi from Romanian mythology and all of the
Mm-hmm.
ways that that kind of uh, propagated and mutated as a word and as an idea through other European mythologies, right? Um,
Yeah, let's
Here
take a look.
again, going to Wikipedia, just like yesterday,
Right.
guys. I'm not clever about things. I just know what Wikipedia is. Um, so
Well, remember what they were doing, right? Gygax took a lot of things from mythic history, right?
exactly, right? We
Yeah,
know that's where
right.
Gygax got a lot of his material. So in French, Stryge uh, means a bird woman who sucks the blood of children. It's like, okay, like there you get your bird rather than mosquito,
Mm-hmm.
and mistrigoi are um, you know etymologically related to words for witch or sorcerer, uh, but it's a vampire. It's a vampire.
Right.
That's what we're doing
Yep.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, like, there's a lot of connection in that. Like, Strigoi, I don't speak Romanian. The pronunciation's probably atrocious. Strigoi mort, a dead Strigoi, the most dangerous. They emerge from their graves in order to torment their families until their relatives die. Like, okay, we got a lot of, classic
Mm-hmm.
vampire stuff going on. And so, like, if if we're specifying bird-like and blood-sucking, I think that I'm on pretty solid footing of saying Gygax is probably like taking that and mutating the word and calling it a day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Yeah.
I
He
mean,
he might have even had an idea based on mosquitoes, but wanted to have a more sort of foreign sounding name base to
right.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, and then, of course, this is perfect because it's about a blood drinking vampire style thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, could be. I do not know. I don't know the origin of Sturges, other than where it first showed up in the game, but I don't know the
sure.
origin in terms of when it was created, who was doing that, and where that came from in their mind. Right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. That was Sturges in Beckme with a tangent to why did it get named this, right? Um, and and Rule Cyclopedia. So let's take a look at the Monster Manual one. So notice there's been no art so far.
Yeah,
Monster Manual 1 is the first place where we're going to get art for this creature. And so if we just look at the art, I'm going to describe the art. And I know that we've talked a lot about art in this series, but I'm going to describe this to you. It is a flying creature that looks like it has a segmented body, kind of like a
hmm
bee with little tufts of hair on it, like bee
hmm
bee hair. It's not the same hair as like a mammal hair, but you get my idea. And it has like legs that look kind of similar to insect legs. They end in like hooks or weird grappling things.
yeah. The latch on sense is very
Yeah,
strong
right.
there.
The wings, though, look more bat like than insect like.
They sure do. Which again,
And
I think connects to sort of a like classic Dracula
right, well,
vibe.
yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I have something to show you when we get done with the 1E Monster Manual. I'm going to show you an entry
Mhm.
in a different 1E book that was really sort of illuminating to me in a different way, right? And made me sort of think about these as small flying vampires, right? So the thing is that the wings here look like they're meant to evoke like bat wings, but I think that's just the art because the description talks about it having feathers, which is more bird like. So I don't know if just the way the art depicts it makes it look more bat like, but it was supposed to be more bird like. I'm not sure about that. But it has this huge, pointy proboscis bill. It now is going to refer to it as a proboscis again, even though it didn't in the basics. Remember, it did in OD&D, but it didn't in the basics. So, and then there's like feathers on the head, kind of swooping back off the head. Those things look more feather-like than insect hair-like. Okay, so it's this weird In no way does this evoke anteater to me,
No,
right? There's
no,
there's
that
no
that takes some
anteater
work
here in
to,
this image.
yeah.
So, so let's take a look at the stats. Uncommon frequency, number appearing 3 to 30. So that comes. Remember, Gygax took a lot of his stuff from OD&D. If there was a more elaborate description, he often took that from Holmes. He didn't take stuff from BX or from Beckme, right? One of those reasons, by the way, and I didn't mention this before, but one of those reasons, remember, is that there was a lawsuit where Dave Arneson was suing TSR for being cut out of advanced D&D, right? And so when Gygax was making his advanced D&D products, he was mostly going back to OD&D, which also all of it doesn't have Arneson's name on it. Only a couple things have Arneson's name on it, right? So he was trying to make a separation, right? Which is why he always went back to his own designs in OD&D, or he went to the Holmes designs, which are based on OD&D. He didn't go back to BX or Beckme because Beckme was the line that was meant to be the separate line that Arneson might still be involved in. Anyway, that's a whole history thing. We don't have to worry about that. But just so that you understand, that's partly why all these first edition Monster Manual stats go back to either Holmes or OD&D. And in this case, they do. 3 to 30 appearing rather than the 1 to 10 that we got later. Armor class is worse a little bit. It's 8 instead of 7. Hit dice is 1+1 instead of just 1. Treasure type is the same as in OD&D. It's type D. Chance and lair is the same or better. Number of attacks, 1. Damage, the same. Special, drain blood. Standard magic resistance. It has animal intelligence. It's neutral alignment. And now its size is specifically stated small. Okay? Because AD&D had size categories. No psionic ability whatsoever. And here's what the description says. It says, Stirges are found only in very dark, tangled forests or in subterranean lairs. They lay in wait for warm-blooded creatures, swoop down, and when their long, sharp proboscis is attached, the blood of the victim is drawn through to be eaten. Stirges attack as if they were creatures with 4 hit dice rather than 1+1. Remember, that goes all the way back to OD&D. The proboscis of a Stirge inflicts 1 to 3 hit points of damage when it hits each melee round after striking until it has drained 12 hit points value in blood. The Stirge drains blood equal to 1 to 4 hit points. So that's an addition. He went back to the 1 to 4 points per melee round, but now there's a cap. It doesn't just drain you until either you die or it dies. It drains you until it gets 12 hit points worth of blood from you. And then it detaches. It says, bloated with blood, a Stirge draining 12 hit points worth will flap off to digest its repast. The only method to detach a Stirge from its prey is to kill it, or let it get to 12 and then it leaves. Right? It doesn't say that part, that last part. It says the only method to detach a Stirge from its prey is to kill it. But we know from the stats, or from the mechanics, that if it hits 12, it leaves. So if you have 15 hit points, you're going to live through the attack.
Of one Stirge, yes.
Of one Stirge, right. But if 3 to 30 are there, right, yeah. So,
I mean, if you want to make players really unhappy, just really unhappy, tell them they have to wait that out and they can't kill that Stirge. Just, you're stealing my blood, dude. No.
Right. And I think that's actually why it added this line about the only method to detach a Stirge from its prey is to kill it, to say to people, yes, you can attack it. Right. Yeah. There's no other way to remove it, so you have to attack it. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of sentences. Description: the feathers of a Stirge are rusty red to red-brown. Its eyes and feet are yellowish. The dangling proboscis of a Stirge is pink at the tip, fading to gray at the base. Okay. Now, still no mosquito word. Right. But a proboscis is very evocative. That word is very evocative, even though it doesn't say mosquito. And also notice no mention of an anteater. So even though the OD&D had anteater and Holmes had anteater, but there's no anteater in this. So they did drop the anteater description all the way. Okay.
So there's one thing I really want to point out about this one, because it takes us all the way back to the very first Edition Wars episode where we talked about what is a hit point.
Right.
So by saying that it takes 12 hit points to fill up a Stirge, that implies a volume of blood and thus implies that high-level characters have more gallons of blood under high pressure. Right, which is of course exactly the thing that the text of AD&D 1E says isn't true.
Right.
It's super clear about this, that hit points are any other thing you could describe than blood in the meat sack.
Right. However, notice it doesn't say volume. It never says 12 hit points worth of volume. Right.
But the container size of the now filled Stirge is essentially constant. So it isn't saying it, but it is implying it extremely strongly.
What it also implies is, because it says bloated with blood, right? Like a mosquito. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a mosquito. So I've worked with mosquitoes from a research standpoint.
The South.
Okay.
I'm from the South.
Right. So you can actually look at 2 mosquitoes under a dissecting microscope, and you could tell which one has eaten recently, right?
Sure.
you literally can see the blood that they have pulled in, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what was being imagined here. So it says, bloated with blood, the Stirge draining 12 hit points will flap off to digest its meal, basically, right? But what that means is if you attack it after it got full, when you kill it and you hack into this thing, blood is just gonna go everywhere.
Yeah. Bloody mess.
A bloody mess. Right. So really, really disgusting. So before we move to 2E, I want to hit you with another a couple of entries from the 1E era.
I'm
Okay.
excited.
The first is in the Monster Manual 2, which was published in 1983. Okay, so Monster Manual was 1979, right? So this is a couple of years later, right? 3 or 4 years later. And at the back of the Monster Manual 2 is a listing of all of the creatures that have been published for first edition D&D from the Monster Manual, from the Fiend Folio, from all the various books, right?
Yeah.
And it lists them and it tells you what book it came from and what page it's on, right? And in this index, okay, which is in the back of the Monster Manual 2, it lists the Stirge in two places. It lists it under S for Stirge, and so I'll show you how this thing is laid out here. So if we find Stirge on here,
Yep.
this is really small, so let me focus in here a little bit. You see it's right here, Stirge, and to the left of it, it says M92 because it's telling you that's on page 92 in the Monster Manual, and there it is right there on
Yep.
page
Sure.
92.
Okay.
That's the first listing for this. Let me show you the second place it's listed on here. It is listed under the letter B. And the reason it's
hell?
under the letter B is because it's being referred to as a bat bird.
Oh, the hell?
Right. So the thing that made me think was, oh, vampire bat.
Yep.
Which is why I was happy that you brought up the Romanian
Yes, Strigoi. Yeah.
vampiric historical Strigoi, right? Like, I don't know if those are actually related, but it completely makes sense. It also makes sense why they put bat wings on the picture in the Monster Manual 1
Yeah.
and gave it feathers like a bird. So bat-winged bird,
Sure.
right? Which is also why they took away the anteater reference and got rid of the reference that, or did not add a reference to mosquitoes, right? So it's just really interesting, right? Because I don't know if this is the kind of stuff a nerd thinks about. Okay, for those of you who might be listening to this and maybe I don't know why you would be listening to this and not be a total nerd like me, but when
God
I
bless
see
you,
this,
though. We appreciate
like,
the listener numbers. Do what you gotta do.
so I look at this and I'm like, did Gary Gygax call these things bat birds?
I can't think of another. Well, somebody did clearly, but
Someone did, right?
if
So
it wasn't Gary, then who? Right?
right. So he probably did come up with the name Stirge based on the Strigoi, right, that we talked about earlier. So he was probably calling it that, and they probably the players probably were like, "Oh, it's those damn Batbird things," and that probably stuck to somebody's group, somebody who was working for TSR when this was all being developed, right? Because it's not really referred to this as a Batbird anywhere else. Right?
That's right. We haven't seen that terminology
We have
or
not
sort of
seen
slang
that
term
terminology.
thrown around.
Right.
But it does suggest something about maybe what the the sort of fandom conversation was like.
Right.
That if we had unlimited time, that would send me back through decades of Dragon magazines looking for letters to the editor.
I was thinking an ecology article.
An ecology article would be good too, for sure.
Yes.
But
well, guess what I have as the next thing to show
I'm
you.
excited. I'm excited, right? But I'm just talking about like the beautiful thing about the letters to the editor is
Mm-hmm.
that it is the social media and sort of fan to designer conversation of that moment,
Right.
right? It's as much as there was.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I want to check, like, is it referred to this anywhere else? And I just didn't connect it to being a Stirge at that point in time, right? Like, yeah, who knows? So I found that interesting. It's an interesting historical artifact that I had never really paid attention to before. That caught my eye when I was setting up for this episode. So
Yeah.
then I went and looked. I went and actually looked for an ecology article in Dragon Magazine, and I found one. And here is the image that it shows us there. And you will not be shocked to learn that this ecology was written by Ed Greenwood. He
Correct.
wrote a
I'm
lot
not
of the
shocked.
early Dragon magazine articles and
Well,
ecologies.
and like I've seen a lot of his later work in second ed era.
Mm-hmm.
It was clearly a passion for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Elminster's
Yeah.
Ecologies is a box set that I
Right.
have.
Oh, it's and I have all the follow-ups too. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite box sets, and I was not a Forgotten Realms person, but I
Yeah.
loved those because, of course, biologist, right?
Right. I mean, you fans of the show will, be hearing that thing I always say, but
Mm-hmm.
I could never figure out how to get any of that into the narration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I I could maybe do it now, but it
Yeah.
is just it's a whole level of prep to like create a narrative block that I intend to
Mm-hmm.
insert.
Right.
I never had that in me at the time. I mean, I was, you know, a teenager learning how to GM at all,
Right.
and
Right.
that product was in a real sense not for me.
Mm-hmm.
If it had been about if it had really gotten into technique of how to bring that into your narration, then maybe, but it was not written on the level I would have needed to use it as a product. So
Right. Right. So I want to just talk about this art for a second
yeah,
because this art and the art from the Monster Manual 1 is distinctly different from each other.
I would
Because in
say
the
yeah.
Monster Manual 1, the art is showing a thing with an insect like body with
Yep.
four legs and two wings, okay, and a long proboscis. The Dragon article, by the way, this is from Dragon number 83, which I think was March 1984. I think it says at the bottom of the page. Yes, March 1984. Okay. This image of this thing is distinctly more bird like. It only has two legs, like a bird. They look like they end in kind of talon like, bird shaped feet.
Hmm.
It has tail feathers. The wings are definitely bat like, but there is no second other pair of arms.
That's right.
And the bill of the bird is more like the bill of a bird than a proboscis or a distinctly straight pointed thing.
That's right.
It's kind of curved and definitely looks more bird like to me.
Now, based on our conversation from a couple of days ago, I need
Mm-hmm.
to point out that as they lack additional forelimbs
Mm-hmm.
and their wings are their only sort of upper limbs, that makes them
Right.
wyverns. Right.
Sure. Sure. Lesser wyverns. Let's call them lesser wyverns.
That's right.
Um, lesser blood sucking wyverns.
Jesus tap
But
dancing Christ, a wyvern-sized sturge is the worst thing I've ever imagined.
oh, that's the hive queen.
That's terrible.
Um, so here's the thing though. This thing is very distinctly bird-like with bat wings.
Hmm.
So this is actually a picture of what's referenced in
Yeah,
the Monster Manual 2, the bat bird. This
that's a
is
bat bird.
literally a picture of a
No
bat bird.
argument. Yep.
So it's very interesting that little because this was published in March 1984 and the Monster Manual 2 was published in 1983. Okay.
Yep.
So there was something happening around there. And you know what? I did not search this article to see if it referred to it as a bat bird, but apparently not.
There you go.
Um, but it's written in the typical style. It's a person describing, it's a person in world describing catching a sturge, what it looks like. It says in flight, the sturge is highly maneuverable, and groups of them are capable of cooperative unison attacks and midair actions. It's really little more than an expandable blood bag with wings, eyes, and claws. A long, hollow needle beak or proboscis, admirably suited for drawing blood. They're talking about a specimen they caught. This specimen appears to be of about average size, measuring just under 1 foot from top of head to tip of tail. That's the first actual description of real size measurement
Yeah.
that we see up until now, right? We get a large anteater size to small to whatever, but we don't get any actual measurement. And here's a measurement measuring just under 1 foot, and that is the average, according to this article. The just under 1 foot from top of head to tip of tail, with a wingspan of just less than 3 feet. In other words, really big wings. The wings may look unusually large, but if they were smaller, the sturge would not be able to maneuver as well as it does when its body cavity is filled with blood. Of course, because it said it's just a big blood bag, right? Well, I don't need to read any more of this article, but it does give you some actual stats. It gives you a flight class, because that's how, first edition did flight. It tells you that there are diseases that you can contract from sturges. They are blood-borne or blood-forming organ diseases. They're acute. There is a 5% chance for any adult sturge to transmit a disease to its victim on a successful hit. That is something I don't think that is ever repeated again in any of the core books. It's in this article. And here's another thing that I don't think is repeated. Sturges can always regenerate lost body parts over a period of 1 to 3 months, or heal even the most severe wounds, replacing up to 4 lost hit points every 24 hours, so long as their heads and spines remain relatively undamaged and food is plentiful.
I mean,
So
I definitely think that the footnote on diseases is
mm-hmm,
very much in the vibe of first ed, right?
mm-hmm,
When we cover the first ed DMG, I mean,
yeah,
one of our very first conversations in that book was
mm-hmm,
about the very extensive tables of
right,
horrible diseases,
right, yes,
awful diseases
yes,
that Gary just luxuriated in writing about.
yeah, yeah. But it's not in it's not in the entries. And I'll be honest, I did not go look at all the various different adventures that use sturges, but
Mhm.
I don't recall ever seeing any of them reference a disease being transmitted by the sturge that's attacking you.
Yeah, I definitely don't recall ever seeing that
Yeah.
as a thing.
Or regeneration. I've never seen that as a
That's a
main
surprising one.
sort of component of them. Right. And then it does talk about one last thing. It says sturge claws resemble the better types of fish hooks in that they are both hooked and barbed, curving to a point which has a side fin or point projecting backward from the tip toward its shaft, in the same way that the edges of an arrowhead form 2 points facing back toward the flight feathers. In a live sturge, these barbs are not rigid, but can be retracted into the claw by means of a strong cartilage and muscle linkages. A sturge can hook itself onto a victim through gaps in metal armor, or by simply piercing leather or lighter clothing, so that it cannot be torn free except by also tearing away parts of the victim's flesh. So really rough, if it grabs onto you, it's not just that the proboscis sticks into you and is attached, it actually will hook into you as well.
Yep.
And now it tells us something that I also mentioned was not in the stats. As many as 6 sturges can comfortably, for the sturges, attach themselves to the body of one man or other medium-sized creature at the same time. Sometimes more than 6 will do so, but usually only if the entire swarm is very thirsty. If the victim is a solitary creature, and if the victim has enough blood, that is, hit points, so that each of the attackers can drain at least a little blood, a charitable DM might rule that each sturge, after the third one attacking a single target, do so at a cumulative -1, because the target is in effect smaller since other sturges are already attached. And then it tells us this. They will attack the trunk of the victim's body in preference to the extremities. Since the target area is larger, those who sink their claws into a victim's back will be virtually immune to counterattack by the victim himself. A companion can try to attack the Stirges on a victim's body, but if he misses such an attack and rolls 4 or more under the number needed to hit, he hits the victim instead. The weapon
Yep.
strike does half damage round down, but still. Yeah. So, yeah, and then it mentions a Stirge filled with its quota of blood can subsist on that nourishment for as long as 72 hours and can go another 24 hours without food. After that, and before starving to death. However, Stirges will instinctively seek out new prey starting 36 hours after their last full meal. It's a lot more detailed than we get, I think, in any other article anywhere. So this is really for the Stirge connoisseur who wants to use Stirges in a very specific, detailed way and really make their party unhappy.
Yeah. Can confirm.
Yeah. So now we've got 2 depictions of this creature, right? We've got 4 legs, bat wings, feathered head with a sharp, pointy bill, not called a proboscis, or it is called a proboscis. Then we've got the ecology article, which makes it a more bird-shaped bill with only 2 legs and with bat wings. And then we get to the 2E monstrous manual, which makes this thing, now it has 4 legs again, and it looks very, very insectoid.
Yeah. I mean, this is the one that, of course, I came up using and seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and I never understood what I was seeing with those eyes. Not one time did I
Yeah.
really understand what was going on with those eyes.
Yeah, I think it's because it mentions, I think in the Monster Manual 1, that the eyes are yellow, right? It says the feathers of a sturge are rusty red to red brown. Its eyes and
Uh-huh.
feet are yellow.
Okay, I agree with that, but
And I think what it's going for is like the compound eyes of an insect, but instead of being round, they're like longish and and slightly oval. I don't know. Yeah,
I
I
swear to God, they look like larvae coming out of the eye
yeah,
socket.
yeah, yeah. I think they were going for sort of oddly shaped, bulging compound eyes. That's what I think they were going for.
That's terrible.
It has a long proboscis that is, because of the head shape, very much now looks like an insect proboscis instead of a bird bill. The wings still look like bat wings, and it has hair on the back of its head that looks more like hair than it does feathers.
Right. It does look sort of distressingly like just a mosquito with a mullet.
Yes, yes, it does.
Like
Yeah.
this mosquito is business the
I
front, party
mean,
in the rear.
that's what I was gonna say. Maybe those eyes are actually just Oakley glasses.
Uh, They're very not looking like eyes. I'm sorry. I don't I don't like that.
Yeah. This image is very it's very much like a bee with only with a bee with 4 legs and a long proboscis and bat wings. It's like a mix between a bat and it's an insect with bat wings basically. It's not even a mix between those two because the only real elements of something not insect are the bat wings and the wild hair in the back. You know who's that? Who was that one promoter that used to have the big hair coming
Don
off of his?
King?
Oh, yeah, looks like it's
Yeah.
this Don King.
Yep, it is Don King hair. That is
It's
correct.
Don King hair. So, you know, so let's so let's step away from that. This is usually I don't have bad things to say about the 2E art. Usually it's either hit or miss for me. I either love it or I'm just like, eh. This one I actively dislike.
It's a rare case of Dieter Lisi not landing for me.
Right,
Like
yeah.
extremely rare.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Although
happen.
I wonder what the art order said, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I know for sure that he is not a bad artist, right? So
Right, that's
I
not even a
feel
question.
like Yeah, I don't know. So let's take a look at this. Climate or terrain: forests or subterranean, uncommon frequency. That's all the same. They organize in
Yep.
clusters.
Yep.
They have a nighttime activity cycle. Their diet is blood. Their animal intelligence, treasure type D. Alignment says nil, but there is a sage advice article that corrects that and says anything in the 2E monsters manual that says nil is supposed to be neutral because
Yep.
animal
Yep. Yep.
intelligent creatures are supposed to be neutral. Number appearing 3 to 30. So we kept that huge number. Armor class is 8. That's the same as the first edition.
Hmm.
Movement is the same. Hit dice is the same. Thaco, that's the same. Number of attacks, same. Damage, same. Blood drain, same. Everything's the same. It's literally the same, except the morale is 8 instead of 9. And it has more XP than where we saw XP last, which was in Beckme. Here's what it says. Stirges are bird-like creatures that drink the blood of their victims for sustenance. They have 4 small pincer-like legs that they use to clamp onto the necks of their victims. So now it tells us specifically they clamp onto the necks. They are rusty red to reddish-brown in color, and their eyes and feet are yellowish. The dangling proboscises of Stirges are pink at the tip, fading to gray at the base, near their heads. I will note that it says under size, small, and it says 2-foot wingspan. Okay? Combat, they have an instinctive ability to find and attack weak points. They attack as 4 hit die creatures, which is all that's the same. The long proboscis does 1 to 3 points of damage when it hits, drains 1d4 points of blood every round thereafter, drains a total of 12, and then leaves because it becomes bloated. Okay. Stirges must be killed to be removed due to their strong grip. If an attack against an attached Stirge misses, make another attack roll against the victim's armor class to see if the attack hits the victim instead. So they put that in. That's not in the first edition monster manual. That is more like what's in that ecology article, right?
Yep.
Caution is advisable when attempting to remove an attached Stirge. No. Stirges form nest-like colonies in attics, dungeons, and copses of trees. Although they resemble birds, they hang upside down when sleeping, indicating that Stirges may be closely related to vampire bats. There's your bat bird.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Stirges can breed in captivity, but a constant supply of blood is needed. They mostly kill low-level humans, animals, and children, so the arrival of these predators in any civilized territory is always a cause for alarm. Fortunately, even a low-level group of adventurers or town militia is usually capable of ending the menace with little or no loss of life. And by the way, that is the reason why they are still in the game today and that they have become an iconic creature, because they are weird, they are dangerous, but you can fight them at low levels.
That's right. That's right.
Ecology. Stirges have an acute sense of smell. They can see in the dark and they can sense heat sources within 200 feet. These senses keep Stirges informed when living creatures enter their habitat. Creatures with a natural AC of 3 or better are usually immune to a Stirge's blood-draining attack. That's new, since their hides are too thick to penetrate. As a consequence, huge nests of Stirge live symbiotically with some evil dragons. Also new and interesting.
Yep.
Characters who protect their entire bodies with special leather or better armor, this special armor costs 2 to 3 times more than normal armor, can safely approach a Stirge. I will tell you that in all my years of gaming, I have never, ever, ever, ever had a player ask me if they can have Stirge-proof armor created for them and they're willing to pay 3 times more than normal.
You know, I've got a player who has done a lot of beekeeping, and he'll be listening to this episode, so he knows I'm talking about him. And I would not honestly be amazed to hear him suggest that seems within the family of things he would suggest, other than the fact that absolutely to hell with Stirges, let's kill them from afar. No.
That's cool. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I just personally have never had a person ask for that. It says even the slightest gap in the protection is seen and smelled by the creature, and a successful attack roll means the creature has broken through the weakness and locked on. After Stirges gorged itself by draining blood, it sleeps for 1 day plus 1 day for every 2 points of blood that it drank. Maximum sleep period is after drinking 12 points of blood, so that's 7 days. During this period of rest, silent attackers can impose a -2 penalty to the Stirge's surprise roll, as the beasts wake slowly and remain drowsy for a few moments. So here's what I'm imagining. They take a cow or some other sacrificial beast to the lair and they let the Stirges gorge themselves, and then the Stirges get drowsy and go to sleep, and then they attack the nest. I could completely see a village learning that there's a Stirge colony nearby, right?
Yeah.
And they have to go take some sacrificial animals or something for the Sturges to drink from and then get really tired, right?
Which honestly does fold back into a kind of vampire mythology, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very much kind of we know where the evil is and we know how to
Yep.
make it slumber and now we go
Right.
burn it to death.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. It says the beasts wake slowly, remain drowsy for a few moments. They are the most vulnerable at this time. While certain species of sturges prefer to dine on human blood, most are content with any large mammal like cow, moose, and deer. Experienced druids and rangers usually recognize the traces of a sturge colony by the occurrences of mysteriously drained and dead animals in the vicinity. A sturge colony's territory extends for only a mile in diameter, so sturges move around a lot after they've drained a region of the available blood. Often the presence of sturges is only discovered long after the colony has departed, making it very difficult to track them. And then there's this horrific paragraph. There are rumored to be exceptionally large varieties of sturges deep in the dense tropical jungles. Though they are only 2+2 hit die creatures, they attack as 8 hit die monsters. Purportedly, they have a paralyzing poison in the tips of their sharp snouts that is highly prized by local tribesmen. Jungle sturges have been known to mingle with giant vampire bats. None of these larger versions have ever been captured or examined by sages, so nothing else is known about their strengths or weaknesses. What little of them is known came from the cannibals and headhunters of the jungle regions. Okay.
I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's awful, but it's
Exactly.
really cool.
It's totally awful. Totally awful. But notice the way that the vampiric sort of aspect here is weaved into this,
Yep.
and never a mention of mosquitoes.
Not a one. Like
Not a
even
single
as
mention.
the art is clearly circling
Mm-hmm.
back to drawing mosquitoes again, they never
Right.
use that word, and that's interesting.
Right.
I do. The other thing I love about the jungle sturges is just the reminder, hey, you can mess with size.
Right.
Because as soon as I said that thing about the wyvern-sized sturge, I realized
Yep.
that's actually very, very FromSoft.
Yeah.
To throw like a horrifically oversized sturge at you, and then maybe there's ad phases where you also have to manage a bunch of ordinary sized sturges, and
Right.
that's awful. That is
Yes.
an awful idea, and
Yes, it is.
no, but
Awful,
also
awful,
amazing.
and glorious.
Yeah. All right, so I think that wraps us up
Yeah.
for second ed.
So that's second ed. So let's go to third ed. And third ed has sturges the in the Monster Manual 1. Okay. I want to say two things, and then I'm going to let you talk about it. Okay. The first thing is it's tiny in third edition, a tiny
Right.
magical beast.
Which
Okay,
is actually like the size they've been describing
is
all the
actually
time
tiny. Right.
is what we mean by
Yes.
tiny in third ed.
Right.
So that's
Right.
merely correct. Yeah.
Right. Right. And then I want you to look at this art.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's the art.
Yeah.
So now let me describe this art. Okay. Now it has a body that actually looks like a naked mole rat.
Yes.
If you don't know what a naked mole rat is, I urge you to go Google it. It's
Imagine one of
basically
those with a proboscis and
it
extra
right.
wings.
Right. Well, so naked mole rats do not have proboscises and they don't have wings, but a naked mole rat is basically
Notably.
like a small, like sausage-shaped mammal with big buck teeth in the front, and they literally are called they're naked because they have no hair whatsoever, even though they're mammals. Okay, so no hair, no fur, no nothing. Right. Also, they can't get cancer, which is really amazing. But anyway, sorry to drop a bio fact for you. But so here's the thing. Then it has 4 wings instead of 2. Okay. The wings still look leather-like, so they still kind of look like bat wings, but now there's 4 of them, which is more insect-like, because insects often have 4 wings instead of just 2. And the legs of this thing, it has 4 legs, and they look like beetle legs.
Mhm.
Okay. And it
Very
has like a,
obviously barbed.
right, obviously barbed, and it has a sort of flattened, weird head with the eyes are much more narrow now. And then the proboscis is really small and very pointed. I mean,
Uh,
it's small in terms of diameter. It's
Yep.
long, but it's very pointed.
And the hair on the head is much more plausible as like insect hair.
Right. It's more like insect hair down the middle of the
It's
creature's
it's it's got
back.
it's got
Yeah.
Stirge pattern baldness, right, which I can understand.
Yes, yes. So that's that. So now I'm gonna let me. So tell me now about this stat block.
So, I I mean, it is doing a lot of the same things. We're still in very much one hit kill territory with
Hmm.
5 hit points. I mean, it's plausible to take 2 hits. A magic missile is going to only actually take one out in a single shot,
Hmm.
25% of the time. Um, that D4 plus one works the way it does. Extremely high attack bonus at +7. So they've
Hmm.
actually retained that because it has a dex of 19,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is crazy.
It's
I
a
mean,
one hit die creature for the
yeah,
audience. It's a one hit
yeah.
die
You,
still, but it has
you
a
just
plus
you just
seven
never
attack. Yeah.
see something with those practically superhuman stats at
Hmm.
CR one half, which is what this is.
It's a touch attack. Does that mean it ignores armor AC, or what's the, or does it just mean it has to
Um,
touch it? Like what is that in third edition?
I am honestly not, I don't remember how to interpret that exact way of writing it.
Okay.
Whether that does mean that it, I don't remember if that is a touch that resolves. I think it does not, I think it resolves as an attack and not as a touch. Because I
Okay.
think it would have to say +7 melee touch attack rather than just saying touch +7.
Okay. Okay.
But if I'm wrong, I'll be corrected in Tom Show Discord. Ron Tomont, no question. I just I haven't um, touched on these rules
Yeah.
in long enough that I've forgotten some of the formal terminology. It's got a pretty good AC because again, very high dex. Absolutely garbage grapple because it's tiny, and tiny
Right.
is slaps a huge penalty on your grapple. In addition to that, it has a strength of 3, right?
Right.
So they are intentionally extremely easy to grapple and throw off
Right.
of your buddy. They've got really good reflex saves. Again, that's just what Dex gives you.
Right.
So it's just following from the result. Uh, Now the thing about those attacks is that the attack only attaches; it doesn't do damage. So the parenthetical +7
Mm.
melee
Okay.
attach just
Right.
means okay, now it's on you. It doesn't do any damage for having attached. It then drains you, right?
Right.
And yes, so you
All
see
right.
attach as an extraordinary ability down there.
Yeah, so it says if a Stirge hits with a touch attack, it uses its eight pincers to latch onto the opponent's body. An attached Stirge is effectively grappling its prey. The Stirge loses its dexterity bonus to AC, has an AC of 12, but holds on with great tenacity. Stirges have a plus 12 racial bonus on grapple checks, which is already figured into the base attack grapple entry
It's a
above.
very confusing approach, but all
Yes, it
right.
is. An attached Stirge can be struck with a weapon or grappled itself. To remove an attached Stirge through grappling, the opponent must achieve a pin against the Stirge.
Which gets us into the soul-sucking horror of third ed grapple rules,
Right.
but we covered that in a previous episode. So,
Yeah. So let's look at Blood
and
Drain real
then yeah,
quick.
blood drain is absolutely nightmarish in this version. A Stirge drains blood, dealing 1d4 points of constitution damage.
Oh,
Oh, oh, kids, you're dead. You're completely dead when it begins to turn attached to a victim. So basically, it attaches. You've got until its next turn to kill that little bastard,
right.
or it's going to be draining your constitution, and that is big bad news in Third Ed. You die at con zero. In addition to the other ways to die, you die at con zero.
And how
Once
do
it
you
is dealt,
recover con damage?
you recover con damage either with restorative magic, right?
Hmm.
Or I think it's 1 point per day of rest.
Okay, but it will come back.
It does come back.
It does
Uh,
come back. Okay.
this is this is ability damage, not yeah. This is ability damage, not ability drain.
Hmm. Okay.
There's a bunch of really specific terminology around that, and then you get into permanent ability burn that nobody likes or ever wants to have in a game in the Epic Level Handbook. Anyway, once it has dealt 4 points of Constitution damage, it detaches and flies off to digest the meal. If its victim dies before the Stirge's appetite has been sated, the Stirge detaches and seeks a new target. So yeah, like you need a lot of these guys to really threaten even quite a low level party because they've got to hit and then
Hmm.
survive their entire off turn,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I mean, players understand how to be frantic and motivated in murdering little bastards.
Right.
So yeah, um,
Yeah. So let's read the description.
yes, please.
It says this nasty looking creature seems to be a cross between a bat and a giant mosquito, which is our first mention of a mosquito.
Yep,
It has membranous bat wings, a short furry body, not in this depiction, a short furry body,
yep.
eight jointed legs that end in sharp pincers, and a needle-like proboscis. Stirges are bat-like creatures that feed on the blood of living beings. While just one poses little danger to most adventurers, multiple stirges can be a formidable threat. A stirge's coloration ranges from a rust red to reddish-brown, with dirty yellow underside. The proboscis is pink at the tip, fading to gray at its base. Now that's been kept through like 4 editions, okay?
Yep.
A stirge's body is about 1 foot long with a wingspan of about 2 feet. It weighs about 1 pound. Unless it just sucked 4 points of constitution out of you, in which
Nope.
case it's bloated and probably weighs 3 pounds.
But you know,
Um,
the
yeah.
ability drain is very much them like trying to handle, well, no hit points aren't blood volume. We
Mm-hmm.
can't we can't
Mm-hmm.
commit to that.
Right.
Constitution, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
is closer just
Right.
because the range of possible values is so much narrower.
Right. Right. Also note, no mention of disease transmission.
For sure. For sure. Because the blood
Which
drain
is
wasn't enough. Get out of here.
right. What I'm just saying,
God.
like I'm just, it was funny to me because I had never read that ecology article before. I mean, at least not in recent memory. I probably did read
Yep.
it back in the day, but, and so when I read that again this week, I was like, oh, geez, yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought that made Sturges even worse than, you know, what they, what they are.
Accurate.
So that's 3E. And so, you ready to move on to fourth edition?
I am. Yep.
So fourth edition now has even different art, even newer art.
And the wings make
Um,
far less sense.
yeah, and now it's still four wings now, but the wings are sort of spread out and they seem unconnected in a very odd way. It has a fat little mosquito-like body. It has a proboscis. It's still hair. It's hairless now. There's no hair on it.
Yeah, like this is really, really close in like facial construction
Hmm.
to a method.
Yes, yes.
right? It's got that kind of
Yeah.
um, really long
Mm-hmm.
nose that they've loved to
Yep.
put on mephits for ages.
Right.
Um, like that's the kind
Yeah.
of thing that just as a tip to everyone, be careful about using that in your art for bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's it's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. Don't do it.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So here's what it says. It says Sturges are blood-sucking bat-like horrors that lurk in caves and ruins. Lone sturges are little more than pests and nuisances, but they are rarely encountered alone. Sturges tend to gather in large flocks that can exsanguinate an adult human in a matter of minutes. Before we hit the stats, let's look at the tactics. A sturge or dire sturge attaches to its prey, feasts until it is bloodied, or until its victim is reduced to 0 hit points, and then it flies away. A sturge swarm will give rise. So it says, this is funny. Sturge swarms give rise to the old dwarven saying, quote, "I don't have to outrun the sturges, I only have to outrun you." End quote. A hungry
Yeah.
swarm will chase its prey for miles if need be. Yeah. A character knows the following information with a successful nature check. Sturges are pernicious predators that feast on the blood of their victims. They make their nests in caves, hollow tree trunks, or beneath building foundations, dark, dismal places with easy access to open air and prey. They are often drawn to fights by the smell of blood, indiscriminately attacking any wounded creatures they find. Kobolds and goblins sometimes catch sturges and use them in insidious traps. So the sort of the types of sturges we get a small natural beast level 1 lurker, a dire sturge is just level 7 lurker, and a level 12 brute, which is a swarm. And so that the encounter groups are 2 level 7 lurker sturges and 3 bloodweb spider swarms, or 3 sturge swarms, the level 12 brute variety, and 2 flesh golems. Oof, that's nasty. All right, let's look at these stats. Sturges, level 1 lurker, 22 hit points, AC 15, a decent fly speed, and it can hover. The bite is a +6 versus AC. It does 1d4 damage, and the target is grabbed until it can escape, and it takes an ongoing 5 damage until it actually escapes. So that's the attach on and then drain blood all the time. An attached sturge doesn't make attack rolls while grabbing a target and gains +5 bonuses to its AC and reflex. That's the opposite of 3rd edition, where if it's attached, it loses
Yep.
AC. Or was that second edition where it attaches, it loses AC?
No, in
Here
third
it
it loses
attaches
AC.
and it
Yeah,
gains
yeah,
AC. Yeah,
yeah,
interesting. That's fine for a level 1 creature. That's okay.
yeah, yeah,
Dire Sturge is the level 7 version of that. It has many more hit points, 60, better AC, 21, good fly speed again. Same kind of bite, but it does more. It has a better attack bonus, does more damage, and does more ongoing damage until the enemy escapes or it gets killed. And then the Sturge Swarm is a level 12 brute with 141 hit points. It has an aura because it's a swarm. And so the Sturge Swarm makes a basic attack as a free action against each enemy that begins its turn in the aura. In other words, if you get swarmed by it, it basically gets a free attack on you.
right. If you're within 5 feet of it, right?
Right.
Because it
Yep.
has its own space, but
Right.
then it
Yes.
also has an aura because it is a swarm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
That's just how it's represented in 4th
yeah,
edition.
yeah.
Narratively, it's supposed to be that they're all, flapping around and trying to,
Yeah. I mean,
you know,
I actually really like that presentation. I
yeah,
think that an
yeah,
aura sells that really well.
yeah, it's good. This one, the actual attack is a +15 bonus versus AC, and it is 2d6 +4 damage with an ongoing 5 damage, which the save ends. And so that's halfway decent. I mean, that's not horrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very simple uh, creature setup. It has
Yeah,
very, very little tactical complexity
yeah,
in its fundamentals, but it's kind of there to make more problems as part of an encounter featuring
hmm,
something else.
right, right, yep. That's the first monster manual for 4th edition. So those numbers probably could get goosed up a little bit, and you'd still be okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at what it does for the Monster Vault. Now, the Monster Vault, the one thing about the Monster Vault that was better than the Monster Manual 1 is that it gives you more lore. So here's what it says. Size is no concern for sturges. Swarms of these flying menaces can drain a large creature of blood in minutes. In their wake, sturges leave withered bags of skin and bones, food for any scavengers that dare to approach. Few can forget the dreadful drone of sturge wings. The distinct sound of their dual wings flapping in time joins a cacophony of other sturge wings, creating a buzz that drowns out all other noises. With elements of lizard, bat, crab, and mosquito, a sturge might be comical if not for its feeding habits. A sturge hovers on 4 membranous wings, which support the creature as it searches for warm-blooded quarry. Okay, so lizard, that's referring to its scaly skin and kind of tail. Bat is referring to the leathery wings. Crab is referring to, in this 4th edition art, the feet at the end of the legs. It has these like pincers that almost look like narrow crab claws.
Right, giving them the other side of the claw and not just sort of relying on barbs.
Right.
It's a weird
Right.
choice.
Yeah. It says, when a sturge spots prey, it flies up close and clamps onto the creature with 4 clawed limbs. The sturge then plunges its pointed proboscis into the victim's body, draining the victim of blood. When the creature has had its fill, it lifts its bloated body aloft and seeks a safe place to digest. Like bats, sturges dwell in darkness. Caves, dungeons, hollow trees, cellars, sewers, and crypts make excellent places for sturges to sleep. Possessed of preternatural sight, sturges hunt in the darkest hours and the bleakest places. On the surface of the world, the sturge swarm is a nocturnal threat, but in the confines of caves, there is no escape. Sturges prefer to feast on creatures of halfling to horse size, so they live wherever people or herd animals dwell. They are a constant threat to humanoids, and each race has a strategy for dealing with the pests. The creatures sometimes hide in ships or caravans like rats, so merchants have developed repellents that are unpleasant to the creatures. Swarms of sturges menace halfling boat villages as they pass through swamps and down rivers, so halflings erect great nets and wicker lattices to protect them. Sturges also dwell in the sewers of human cities. They boil up at night, requiring residents to secure their doors and shutters as if a hurricane were coming through. Elves resort to setting fire to trees in which sturges nest. Dwarves, on the other hand,
right.
I know, right? That does not sound right. It sounds like the elves would find a better way to get rid of them. Dwarves, on the other hand, send out heavily armored extermination teams who cut the sturges to bits after luring them into a trap. A sturge makes little distinction between horse or human, bear or basilisk. Blood draws it like a moth to flame. A sturge is dangerous for more than its lethal ability to drain blood, though. A survivor of a sturge attack might contract a strange illness as a result of the diseased blood the sturge transmits from another creature it has feasted upon. Despite the dangers of sturges, some creatures value them for the very qualities that make others fear them. Kobolds capture sturges to use them in clever traps where cages containing sturges are dropped on foes. Practitioners of dark magic capture sturges and train them to retrieve blood for foul rituals. Necromancers trap sturges in the cavernous bodies of giant undead. When the undead opens its maw, famished sturges come pouring out to attack the nearest warm-blooded creature.
I do like that one.
And here's a quote from Shara of Winterhaven. I always laugh when I hear some rube complaining about the biting insects of the witchlight fins. You think those bloodsuckers are bad? In other words, sturges are much worse. I wanted to read this whole thing to you because this is the largest bit of lore we get on sturges in any of the monster manuals, any edition.
Yep.
And
second ed is the only real competition, right?
Second ed is the only real competition, and that actually spent a lot of time on the combat tactics and all that stuff, whereas everything I just read was just the lore, right? I mean, narratively, it talked about how it attaches, but,
Yeah.
And the other reason was because for the first time since that 1984 article, this thing mentions that you might get an illness because of diseased blood. That's very mosquito-like, because that's what happens when a mosquito, or a tick, by the way, also bites you, and then they regurgitate some of the blood from previous victim, right? And so that's a problem. But it's the first time that disease transmission has been really mentioned as a serious thing. So now let's look at these stats. So what we get for the Stirge, this is in the Monster Vault, right? We get that same level 1 lurker. It's basically the same. I think down to the HP, it's the same.
Yep.
We also get a level 5 minion lurker, a Stirge suckerling.
Yeah, I think this is a really nice inclusion.
Yeah, it's a new one and it's kind of neat.
it makes it feel much more okay to uh, go kind of nuts with them uh,
Hmm.
without like just exploding the amount of time it's going to take to resolve the combat.
Right. Right. Because remember, just for the audience, in fourth edition, minions, they're one hit creatures. You hit it, it's gone, right? It has one hit point. Okay. And so you can have a bunch of these things around, and while they're a problem for you, if you roll a bunch of misses in a row, generally speaking, you can mow through them pretty well. The next stat block we get is a Death Husk Stirge, which is a level 6 skirmisher. So all the other ones were lurkers up till now, and including the ones in the monster manual. Well, there was the brute, but most of them are lurkers. So now we've got a skirmisher. This is a level 6, and it has a trait called Necromantic Flyer. A Death Husk Stirge that takes radiant damage cannot fly until the end of its next turn. If it's in the air, it falls. So this thing is an undead Stirge.
Yeah, sure
Okay, which
is.
is why radiant damage hurts it. And so it has a bite attack. It has an encounter power called Rotted Blood, which is a close blast 3. So all living creatures within 3 squares of it get attacked. It does necrotic damage and it blinds you, and then it moves away. It has nimble wings, so it can move. It's very mobile, which is why it's skirmisher, right? Skirmisher's job is to move in, make attacks, move out.
Yeah.
It also has a triggered action called Necrotic Miasma. The Death Husk Stirge drops to 0 hit points, and then it does a close burst 2 attack, which does, in other words, it explodes and does necrotic damage and weakens anybody that got hurt by
Yeah.
that explosion.
Well, I think it's interesting that Rotted Blood not only deals damage and blinds targets that it hits with a fortitude attack, but also undead in the blast can shift 2 squares as a free action.
Hmm.
That's like getting into the like puzzle piece structure of
Right.
40 monster stat
Hmm.
blocks,
Right.
and
And
there's a lot of aesthetic pleasure in sort of seeing those fit together really well.
right. Well, and also notice it says that Rotted Blood is an encounter power. However, notice that the bite, when it hits,
Yep,
it actually recharges Rotted Blood.
yep.
So
It's
you
got
could
to
actually,
get blood to hit you with.
right,
That's how it gets it.
right, exactly.
Yep,
That's a nice little action loop there. That
yep.
pays off pretty well. Then we have a level 7 lurker that's a dire stirge, which is very similar to the dire stirge that we saw before in the Monster Manual number 1. And then we have a stirge suckerling swarm, which is a swarm level 10 brute version of the suckerling minion group from before, except it's a swarm. So it has that same aura. It has a blood frenzy aura. It has the ability to basically swarm things and attack them all around it. And it has what's called hungry flight. And so anytime an enemy moves away from the swarm, it can take an immediate reaction and fly up to its speed to the square where the triggering enemy is, and become or to an adjacent square. So basically, when it swarms, it can actually follow you, right? So
Yep.
that's what they were talking about in the lore, that it'll go and keep attacking, right? And
Yep.
that's what this allows. So it's a pretty elegant way to take the fourth edition rules and make it so that this creature actually does things from all of the previous editions of lore, and then it expands on that lore, and then it puts it right into the stat block. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Um, and I love the swarm situation of being vulnerable to close and area attacks,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because while the swarm is one creature, you're applying damage to a bunch of its component creatures at a time,
Right.
so you
Right.
get more damage value out of it,
Yep.
right?
And I
It's
think
it's
that was
just great
true of the.
for like rewarding those area spells and what might no longer be a multi-target fight.
Yeah, I think that's true of the swarm that was in the first edition, or in the Monster Manual 1 as well. Let me
Yes,
put the
yes, it's
swarm
it's
in here.
common across swarms. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. So I was just making sure it had it. Yeah. So
vulnerable
that's what we
10.
get in
Yep.
fourth edition. It's a pretty faithful production of stats, other than the art.
Yeah.
It's a pretty faithful rendition of a Stirge, based on everything that we've read up till now.
Yep.
Are you ready to
The,
go to fifth
the
edition?
undead one is actually a really nice
Yeah,
new idea to
yeah,
add a wrinkle. I do
yeah.
really
And,
like
and
that.
and they put that in the lore too, which I like. They mention it in the lore, and then they give us an undead one, so that was really nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that the like it's a really nice lore bit to talk about how, both societies protect themselves from them and then,
Hmm.
antagonists exploit them. I think that's really
Yep,
good. All right,
yep.
yeah, let's move on.
So let's go to um, here is the 2014 Stirge. And so if we take a look at this art first, now the art takes a turn again.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of has that sort of weird, like, mammalian body thing. It looks like it has skin
Uh-huh.
instead of like uh, you know, insect chitin, right?
Yep.
But it has like weird. The wings are not like anything I have seen in any other edition's art. They're kind
Agreed.
of,
They're kind of weirdly butterfly wingish.
yeah,
If
kind
you assume
of,
that they're kind of folded back, and so you're seeing them in forced perspective.
yeah, maybe they kind of have holes in them though. So this thing looks kind of mangled and
Yeah.
grisly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. He's had
it's,
better days.
yeah. Um, and it has hair all over its head except on the face, rather than
Right.
just on the back. It's got hair all the way around.
Right, and because of the proboscis, it winds up with kind of, is this a kiwi? Is it a kiwi
Right.
bird? What am I
Yeah,
doing?
right. Yeah.
What's going on here?
So here's what it says. This horrid flying creature looks like a cross between a large bat and an oversized mosquito. Its legs end in sharp pincers, and its long needle-like proboscis slashes the air as it seeks its next meal. Sturges feed on the blood of living creatures, attaching and draining them slowly. Although they pose little danger in small numbers, packs of sturges can be a formidable threat, reattaching as quickly as their weakening prey can pluck them off. And so here's the stats. So what do you think about
Yep.
those?
Um, well, so 14 AC is very good for CR18.
Mhm.
Hit points 2, less so, right?
Right.
Uh, one magic missile spell puts three of these guys out of the air, and I think that's
Right.
wonderful, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, the fly speed of 40 is very respectable. Uh, 60-foot dark vision reflects what we've seen elsewhere. They've talked a lot about, having heat sense and things like
Hmm.
that. Then the blood drain. So the +5 to hit is very good for CR18. And then it does an average of 5 piercing and attaches to the target. Uh, While attached, the Stirge doesn't attack. Instead, at the start of each of the Stirge's turns, the target loses 5 hit points due to blood loss. So it switches over to auto damage rather than making attack
Hmm.
rolls, which is
Right.
terrible for you. I mean, it's
Yep.
terrible.
Yep.
The Stirge can detach itself by spending 5 feet of movement. It does so after it drains 10 hit points of blood from the target or the target dies. So that is sort of hit points as volume of blood that it can take.
Right.
And this very much harkens back to the first and second ed Sturges.
Right. Yep.
So, I mean, this is recognizable as the same thing. Fifth ed doesn't like ability damage very much
Hmm.
and does it absolutely as little as possible. I mean, the total number of creatures that do ability damage you can count on the fingers of one hand.
Right. Right.
And I have funny stories about some of those, but yeah, this one is great for, you know, kind of being small and manageable, um, and scary in large numbers without being wildly unmanageable.
Right.
I do seem to recall that Dragon Heist opens with a Sturge encounter.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's one thing on here that you didn't read that is different from every other previous edition. At the end of
Yes,
the
go ahead.
blood drain entry, it
Uh-huh.
says a creature, including the target, can use its action to
Oh,
detach the Stirge.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting that you don't need to break away from it
Attack
in
it.
the form of a grapple or attack it. Yeah.
Right.
But costing you your action is an awful, awful trap, right?
Sure,
Because
except
if there's two of them,
if there's
you're
two of them, it's
now,
a problem.
yeah,
Right.
you have a bad problem.
Right. Right.
It's not going to
And
necessarily
once you,
hit you every single
right.
time, but
But once you figure out, but if it's attached, right, it's going to do automatic damage.
right. And
So,
it's going to do a damage if it hits you also. So
right.
that's
But the
adding
thing
up.
is, once you figure out it's only got 2 hit points, it's probably better just to use your action to attack,
Exactly.
unless you have bad luck dice and you always roll really low, in which case, now since you missed it, like, and you could have just taken it off automatically, and you can automatically get away from that 5 damage from the blood drain,
Yeah,
or you can attack it, and if you, as long as you do 2 hit points worth of damage, you're going to kill it, as long as you hit it.
right. Well, and
So,
just to make it a little bit worse, if what you're trying to do is flee and you detach it, then it's going to get an opportunity attack.
right, yeah, of course. What I guess my point is twofold. They never included something like this before. You
Yeah,
always had to attack it. That's the first thing. The second thing is this creates tactical issues for you. Number one, if there's more than one. And number
yep,
two, if you're already trying to flee, and number three, this is only a challenge rating 1/8, right?
yep,
So it's probably going to be low level PCs that are dealing with this, which is that means it's a problem, right?
yep. Well,
So
and one of the things about 5e's bounded accuracy is that if you just splashed uh, like half dozen of these things in an otherwise, normal level encounter for like fifth level PCs, yes, they're not a problem, except that if you're spending actions on them, that's
right,
actions you're not spending on the thing that's the real threat.
right, right, of
So,
course, yep,
so they're doing their job of just soaking up your attention and
yep,
giving the real threat more time to work.
yeah,
That's classic minion goals, right? In a
right,
very 4E
yep,
sense.
yep. So the Sturge is actually in the basic rules. So I have the 2024 stat block. I think this
Oh,
is the
yep, yep,
2024 stat
yep.
block,
There you go.
but there's no picture. So I looked up and I found this picture. Is this the picture from the 2024?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this is also a deviation from every other Sturge picture we've had.
Yes, it is.
Um,
So it does call back to mind the extremely conical beak or proboscis of one of the
the
OD&D.
first, yeah, the first. I think it was the first
No,
edition.
it was
Yeah,
sorry, it was 1E. Yeah, you're right. This is
yeah.
of AD&D 1E. And then it does keep that sort of very strange wing structure. Here it's
Hmm.
clearer that they're going for a four-winged creature, right?
Yeah, I mean, well,
You can see
the
the wing limb.
yeah, but you can also see the wings on the back of the creature, and it's more like almost like a sugar glider with incomplete
I
wings,
agree with
right?
that, right? And they've gotten
Instead
rid
of
of
looking
the
like it's got four separate wings, right? It's all
yeah,
like one sort of sweeping sheet. It
yeah,
just has an odd shape.
and they've got rid of the claw idea on
Hmm.
the legs.
On the legs, yeah.
Um,
So the legs actually just look like arms with pins with claws at the end,
yep,
almost like you could slap that onto a hook horror
I
and
would
be
agree with that.
like,
Yep.
yeah.
And
I will
honestly,
say that,
while we're
yeah,
talking about horrible, horrible pairings to run into, a hook horror and a bunch of these guys,
Yeah,
Go to hell.
would
That's
be really,
terrible.
yeah,
That's a
that's really
terrible idea,
terrible.
and I love
Yes.
it.
They have the tuft of hair on the back of their head again,
Yep.
right? And so that's kind of a callback to some of that. It's more like hair, not less like feathers, right?
Yep.
The skin of this entire thing also looks very leathery, but kind of like it might have little fine hairs on it in some places.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the body shape is kind of weird because the way that they make the two of the legs come out kind of where the shoulders would be, and the two of them come out where legs would be if this was a bipedal creature, right?
Yeah.
If this was a mammal. It's
Yep.
not, but if it was. But then because the wings also have, like the front wings at least also have like arm like structures, like it's weird. Like it's very weird.
Yeah.
I like this picture though, which is interesting. I do think it makes for a very scary looking formidable creature.
Yeah. So there's just a couple more things in the 2024 page that I want to call
Sure.
out. Um, so of course the lore is boiled way down. That's just
Hmm.
a true thing in 2024 monster
Right.
manuals. Um, it does give you a D4 table of Stirge roosts, which I
Oh,
think is
that's
quite
cool.
nice. Uh, the attic or furniture of a ruined building, a cave or narrow crevice, a hollow tree or thicket, the remains of a gigantic dead creature. Great. Love
Mm.
all those. Every one of those is
Where
great.
and where did those come from? They
Well,
came
those
from the
are
Monster
direct
Vault.
reference to the Monster Vault for
Yep,
sure.
exactly.
Though uh, it is very plausible that they just reinvented that wheel completely
Oh,
without
sure.
ever
Yep.
referencing the Monster Vault.
Yep. Oh,
Um,
yeah, for sure, for sure. 100% agree. But I just find it really interesting that that matches up just
yeah.
so succinctly.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Uh, and then additionally, there's a new stat block, Swarm of Sturges,
Oh, okay,
accomplishing
nice.
exactly the same
Yep,
thing as the 4E Swarm of Sturges. This is
nice.
CR2, 14 AC, 36 hit
Mm,
points. Has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. That's a swarm thing, right?
right,
It's a common
right.
feature of swarms.
Hmm.
Immune to charmed, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, prone, restrained, and stunned. Again, that's a swarm thing.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
if you can't bring some for the whole class, then nobody gets any.
Right, right,
Then it has the swarm trait. The swarm can occupy another creature's space and vice versa, and the swarm can move through any opening large enough for a tiny creature. The swarm can't regain hit points or gain temporary hit points, right? Because you're killing them when you deal damage rather
right,
than just wounding them.
right, right.
And then swarm of proboscises, which again is a terrible phrase. Awful.
Oh, that is a horrible phrase.
Um, and so it does an average of 14 piercing damage on a hit, or less damage if the swarm is bloodied. So if the monster has lost half of its component, the Sturges,
Mm,
then
hmm.
it deals less damage. Again, this is something
Right.
they're doing
Yep.
throughout swarms in
Yep.
2024. Um, if the target is a medium or smaller creature in the swarm space, the target has the grappled condition, escape DC 13. Until the grapple ends, the target takes 7 2d6 necrotic damage at the end of each of its turns.
Mm,
Right? So it's not at the start of the swarm's turn, but the end of your own turn.
right. What's the
Um,
CR on that swarm of proboscis?
that, it's a CR2 on the
Okay.
swarm of Sturges.
Yeah.
So it's not a hugely different sort of tier of play situation, but it is kind of okay, we're fifth or sixth level, and Sturges are still a huge problem just in wildly larger numbers that we call a swarm rather than, you know, there are 4 to 12 individual monsters,
Right.
right?
Right.
That are each so vulnerable to magic missile as to just get vaporized.
Right, because this 2024 Stirge is almost the same as the 2014 Stirge.
Yes, yeah, we're looking at, an average of 5 hit points. which
Right.
is up from 2,
That's
right?
true. Up from 2. Yeah,
Um,
it was 2. The armor class was 14. It went down to 13,
yeah.
but it
Um,
has more hit points.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that's they're tinkering with numbers to
Right.
get things exactly where they want them. And things get a little strange at the very low ends of CR, to be honest.
Right. Right. Well, and this one also does necrotic damage like those swarms,
Yeah,
whereas the 2014 did not do necrotic damage. So that's
right.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's them sort of uh working out new narratives
Right.
for damage types.
Right. Right.
It's a thing in 2024 for sure.
Yeah.
But honestly, Blood Drain does have the visual effect of necrotic damage. I'm not mad about that one. It also
Yeah.
ties into a vampire theme
Right.
really straightforwardly.
Yep. Yeah. I like it.
Uh, the things that are immune to necrotic damage should be immune to Sturgis. That checks out pretty much.
hmm Yep. Yep. Whew. Well,
Uh, and that wraps us up.
yeah. So final thoughts about the Stirge?
Uh, this conversation definitely gave me, more ideas for like ways to use Sturges um, in games and ways to like build a horrible wilderness boss encounter that centers on Sturges because it's terrible.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's there's not a lot new here.
hmm
Really, the surprise is how many years it took them to use the word mosquito. That's very
Right.
surprising.
Right. Yeah. Well, because I think, and that's part of the reason why I brought up that whole Batbird thing in the Monster Manual too,
Yeah,
because I think the actual original conception was it's a bird that sucks blood,
yeah,
right? And then it kind of got morphed over time. And perhaps the first morphing is was actually the trying to figure out, okay, is this are we gonna make this equivalent or reminiscent of the strigoi, right? And then in
yeah,
which case maybe it should have bat wings. So instead of
yeah.
being a bird, maybe it's a bat. So maybe it's a bat bird. Like I could completely see this train of thought, and then it's vampiric because it sucks blood, and so that's and then the mosquito connection didn't show up until third edition because it wasn't until then that they kind of just took a brand new fresh look at things and said, that proboscis word really, really evokes an insect. And they were probably also looking at the art from the Monstrous Compendium, right? Which looks like an insect. So, I can completely see an evolution here where that it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it is surprising because it's such a common refrain now. Oh, giant, mosquito like things that it's weird that it took until, 2001 to call it a mosquito. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it does seem a little obvious and money left on the table for a long time, but
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
sure.
But I mean, I like Sturges. I think Sturges are one of those sort of low level threats that is actually very problematic for a party, but they're not humanoids, so it's not like an overused humanoid species, right? Goblins, it's sort of, any kind of humanoid species that has any kind of intelligence whatsoever, it starts becoming a problem to not recognize a civilization there, right? Whereas a Stirge, look, ain't nobody recognizing a Stirge civilization. These things are not, they're animals that will kill you. They're not, this is a
Yeah.
purely an animal thing, and it makes for a really good combatant at
Friends,
low
the day I feel
levels.
guilty about destroying a mosquito, I'm sorry. No,
Right. That's exactly my point, right?
this thing
So
is not endangered.
this thing is not endangered, and you don't have to feel bad about squishing it, right? So that they make a really great low level creature. They make a low level threat that it remains low level, right? There. The other thing is that other than our wyvern-sized hive mother Stirge, and possibly the 4E, some of the later 4E stuff, you don't really get a huge. There is no, way to make Sturges a super duper duper horrible threat at really high levels. They'll be a nuisance. They'll remain a nuisance. And they'll be something you might have to deal with, but it's not going to be the same as the way you dealt with it at first and second level. Contrary to a lot of what happens to some other creatures where, okay, well, we'll just make a much higher level one of those, and it'll totally make sense in the same basic size and the same, yeah, I think you get where I'm going.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, I think I think I've said what I need to say about
Yeah.
our
Cool.
absolutely not friend, the Stirge.
Right.
It is neither
All right.
friend nor friend shaped.
Neither
Nope.
friend nor friend shaped. Yes, that proboscis is not friend shaped in any way, shape, or form. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Blue Sky at brandistoddard.bsky.social. You can find me on the Tome Show Discord. My personal blog is brandistoddard.com, and my Patreon is brandistoddard. How about you, Sam?
You can find me on rpgmusings.com or on the Tome Show Discord or on all the socials. I'm DM Samuel. But if you really want to talk to me, come to the Tome Show where I will hang out with you. And other than that, well, this is day 11, folks, which means tomorrow is the last day of the 12 days of Christmas. And you're going to have to wait to see what animal, what beast, what monster we cover tomorrow. And until then, have a good one.